We need to talk about classic mode in Black Ops 6 Zombies because recently with the Season 5 update, data miners and leakers have discovered that there are new developments on this seemingly indicating that Treyarch might actually be going ahead with a classic mode in this game that we could see at some point during Season 5 or maybe in Season 6. Better still, this might also be something that could be in Black Ops 7 Zombies. So in this video, we're going to round up everything new that surfaced about this classic round-based zombies mode because you might recall all the way back in September of 2024, discussions and rumors about a classic mode first arose because it was found within the beta. We've yet to see anything about classic mode until now. So let me know your thoughts about this all down below in the comment section, because if all this information actually ends up being true, then there are some very interesting changes to this classic mode, which I don't think everyone is on board with. So jumping straight into it, discussions about this first began on Twitter by @RealityUK, a known Twitter Call of Duty leaker, who said that the classic round-based mode for Black Ops 6 has had even more reference for it added in Season 5. With him being curious if they'll be lazy and stick it as a super Easter egg reward or something like that. Now, it is Reality's word against anything else. However, another Call of Duty data miner on Twitter known as Nanikos had a look around in the code and actually found a brand new game type that was added, which has never existed in this area of the game files before, and it's labeled as ZM_classic, with another saying that it's in a class table for ZM_round-based_classic. Reality UK then followed this up with some very specific details on what the classic round-based zombies mode could entail based on what he was able to find within the files. And he says that this mode will have its own separate wall buy, mystery box, and allowed weapon lists, meaning that some of the wall buys that are currently present will be entirely different. There's a chance that not every weapon in the mystery box will be available, and certain weapons just straight up won't be allowed to be used in the game mode. Another significant detail discovered is that the mini-map would be hidden within this mode, which if true will easily make this feel like a more classic zombies mode, although at any point you can turn off the mini-map. The exfil system is completely disabled, meaning that you cannot end the game by exfilling. Instead, it's just like classic round-based zombies, surviving for as long as you possibly can. But the final detail here is what's been a bit of a controversial hot topic, and that is that apparently there will be a perk limit within this classic round-based zombies mode, with the perk limit being 4 perks only. I just want to let that sit for a moment, where you will only be able to use 4 perks within this classic zombies game mode. Now, Reality follows this up to say that these are not all of the changes, and a lot of the changes he won't be able to figure out, but the things mentioned are the ones that he can figure out. Now, I would immediately want to know your thoughts in the comment section on what you think about this, because there is a massive discussion about this. And again, this might not even come to the game. This might just be code added for some reason that just won't end up being part of BO6 or even BO7. But my assumption is if this is going to come to the game, then it might be what we're going to get content-wise in Season 5 Reloaded or Season 6, now that we aren't getting any more round-based maps. Now, out of all the classic mode details there, all of them sound about right to me, but the perk limit of 4 is something which is throwing off a lot of people. Up until now, everyone has wanted to see a classic mode inside of BO6 Zombies, especially from all the discussion back during September before release. But I guess when you hear about a classic mode, the only words we have to go off is that word classic, and we have no real idea what it actually entails. I've mentioned quite a few times before that if Treyarch were to throw in a classic mode into BO6 Zombies, that would likely include stripping features away such as weapon rarity, armor plating, exfilling, damage numbers, minimap, etc. But most of those systems make up the core gameplay of BO6, and if you stripped all of them away, then the game would play drastically different, and it honestly isn't a game that's designed without those things in mind. And the Jingle Hells game mode is a fantastic example of this, where we've already seen parts of the game stripped, including the arsenal machines being gone, so you can't get any weapon rarity upgrades, any ammo mods. You also couldn't craft anything because the buildable benches were gone. So the game was a lot harder than the typical BO6 Zombies experience. And consensus was that the community did not enjoy that style of gameplay. I did think the lack of any armor plates dropping or being able to craft them was a very interesting concept. It shows that the game was not built to be played without armor plates. And so the big discussion about the perk limit being 4 is very interesting, because at the core of classic Call of Duty Zombies, that's always been the case, where you could only buy 4 perks. But in a game where typically there is a 0 perk limit, restricting it only to 4 perks is a very drastic change in gameplay, which surprisingly a lot of people are saying sounds boring. Where a lot of the consensus over on Twitter and Reddit are saying that this classic round-based mode sounds really boring, and that these features being stripped is actually a negative thing rather than a positive. And I think there is a bigger conversation to be had here about the wider angle of what a classic zombies mode means, because as I mentioned at the start of the video, it's actually really difficult to define what that means, because a lot of people have completely different definitions of what that means, and what definition Treyarch has might be different to what a lot of people have. The only positive about this perk limit, if it's true, is that it actually makes the free perk Easter eggs a lot more sought after, which we saw in previous games like BO2 as an example, where with Origins you really felt the benefit of being able to do those side Easter eggs to get the extra perks. I think the problem is here that when you really strip it down, is that those that want a classic zombies mode simply can't just pick and choose what features they get from their classic zombies mode. There's got to be some sort of compromise to where it fits that definition of classic mode. But ultimately, I just don't think BO6 zombies will work if they strip back all of these features. Beyond the 4 perk limit, everything else sounds really good for a classic mode in my opinion, but I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But if they were to remove things like weapon rarity and augments and field upgrades, and the entire game would play so much different, and these specific maps as well would just be so different to how we've played before, that it might feel a little bit too different to be a good thing. To me, it definitely sounds like this could potentially be a limited time mode that Treyarch bring to the game at some point before the end of the game's life cycle, mainly as like a tester to get a ton of feedback from the community on the game mode, and then see where they go from there. If there's things that they need to retune, things they need to remove, add in, and it could be one of those where we see it at the very end of Black Ops 6 and we don't necessarily get it straight away in Black Ops 7, but it's added later on where it's tweaked and changed based on the feedback of what it was like in Black Ops 6. Like clearly this year they've been really interested in experimenting with different LTMs, and what's interesting is all the way back in October of last year, it was rumored that COD 2025 Zombies, so Black Ops 7, was rumored to have a classic mode, with Fumo leaks claiming that you'll spawn in with a pistol, you'll need to craft armor, which are details which Reality UK hasn't shared in his leaks earlier this week. That is also another element which a lot of people deem to be a classic part of zombies. So no loadouts, no ammo mods, no kill streaks, no armor, and no weapon rarity. It'd be very interesting to see how that completely changes the gameplay, and if it would be fun still or not with those things missing, but we will just have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But if you missed my previous videos on the brand new Ether Blade Easter egg that was solved on the Reckoning, as well as me beating every single BO6 zombies map in one video, then go ahead and check out these 2 videos on your screen right now.